Thank you. First of all, I'd like to give kudos to you, Carrie, Debbie, and others who brought together this global alliance in the face of this unprecedented crisis. So I'm just going to share a few slides and a little bit of a perspective of how this pandemic has impacted, the global services and the technology industry. So when the pandemic started initially, there was obviously a lot of gloom and doom that there was going to be severe disruption in service delivery. There will be a lot of default in terms of service levels, and you're going to see many of the service providers actually fail. To everyone's surprise and to the credit of this global supply chain of services sector, the services actually restrained and elevated themselves to meet the challenge. And one of the biggest outcomes of this crisis has been that the global delivery model has been stress tested, and it has come through in flying colors. The way that providers are able to balance the load and shift work to home and manage the data privacy and cybersecurity concerns while keeping the uptime, keeping the service levels intact, has been really credible. So I think the Everest report was really on the mark. I think it highlighted many of these trends and sort of the future of the sector. What I wanted to share quickly were a few slides on what we believe the next normal is going to look like. And the reality is that we as an industry have been on this path for many years now. And this is the process of digitalization that has been driven by the digital demand on one side and by the accelerators on the other side. So as we have seen that digital consumers and companies want to deal through digital channels and consume products and services in a different way. We've seen the government also move towards more digital services. And now we're seeing the emergence of smart workspaces, smart cities, and these are all driving demand for digitalization. On the other hand, we have seen the proliferation of different technologies that have been talked about: AI, automation, IoT, 5G, and others. And there's an increased hyperconvergence between these technologies that are driving new ways of innovating and shifting the business model. There's the availability of ubiquitous connectivity, and of course, now we also have this borderless digital talent, which can be shifted around. All of this is enabling the new version of digital products, services, processes, and models. So essentially, digital is becoming the amplifier of business transformation. And we're seeing this across the whole, the four pillars of an organization, right? We are seeing business models being reimagined through digital, which is enabling new business models, enabling agility, scale, and resilience. We're seeing portability of skills, a move towards an innovation-driven culture as the digital workforce enables employees to really unleash their true potential as opposed to being stuck in, humdrum work. We're seeing also IT being transformed through cloud and AI, IT ops, IoT, and other means. And finally, we are also seeing that platform-based business services, hyper-automation, they're changing the way that companies operate and bringing more agility to the operating models. So along comes COVID. And as Everest pointed out, COVID has actually accelerated this process of digitalization and actually is driving innovation much faster than anyone could have imagined. We actually did a study recently, and what we had seen pre-COVID is that organizations were increasing their spend on digital transformation. About 57% of the organizations were investing in major digital initiatives. When COVID happened and the world went into lockdown, by April, we're seeing significant shift towards cut in project budgets, reduce in IT spend, and even impact on outsourcing spend. However, the resiliency of this sector is very apparent here, that by June, we saw that businesses started reinvesting in priority digital initiatives, especially around unified communication, hybrid cloud, automation, and cybersecurity. And in fact, what we're seeing starting July onwards is that the dip in the investments, especially in the digital transformation area, is actually now beginning to come back almost as a slingshot. And based on the feedback we received from our clients and other enterprise buyers, the trajectory of digital investments is actually going to be at a higher incline than it was prior to the pandemic. So what we're expecting is that post-COVID, 78% of organizations will be increasing their digital transformation budget. They'll be investing in long-term digital initiatives. They'll be scaling up the investments in the area of digital transformation. And more importantly, they're going to be relying on this digital ecosystem of partnerships to enable continuous transformation. And that's the silver lining of the pandemic. We're going to see this acceleration in the growth of our global services industry, as they've shown that they can be the pillar or the foundation on which global enterprises can rely. And we're going to see a shift towards more digital services that rely not just on people, but on automation and AI as the enablers for those.